We are live on both LinkedIn and YouTube now. So, to anyone that's watching, I am so happy for you guys to join me. This is going to be an amazing episode because you've not just got one expert, you've got two. So, the more the merrier. This is my first one doing three. So, I'm really, really excited to have you both here. And an absolutely dynamic duo. This week, we are talking all about offers. So, what is an offer, how you can create an offer, and how you can turn that into a business that literally transforms your lifestyle. It's one that I urge you to, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. There is time, as always, for Q&A towards the end, and you'll find out all about these lovely ladies and how you can potentially work with them. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce both Angela and Cristina. What is it that you ladies do? And talk us a little bit about where you guys come from.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Bella. That is a loaded question. That's the thing, right? When you do it with like two people, it's always like, okay, where do we start and who's going to speak and who's going to Yeah, so do you want me to kick off, Chris, and then you can add?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is an offer coach? What is an offer? I mean, there's so many questions that you actually front loaded in that introduction. So I'm one half of the duo, the dynamic duo that Bella spoke about together with my business partner, Cristina. The best way to really think about the two of us is, in these big organizations, you always have marketing that's kind of fighting with sales, and you see that getting played out at a larger scale. So between the two of us, it's kind of like that as well, pretty much all the time, but it does mean that it gives us very unique perspective into what we do. So what we do as offer coaches is essentially we help people to get the clarity around what it is that they do, who it is that they help, and also answer the question of why them versus anybody else. And specifically to Cristina and myself, our expertise and background and experience in doing this really concentrates specifically around helping people to monetize their expertise. So turning expertise into offers that just fly off the shelf, they end up selling themselves, and that the market loves to buy. So I don't know, Chris, any pieces to add on top of that?
Well, you also asked where we're from, and that's why I was like, oh my God, it's really loaded, right? So originally, Ange and I met when we were children in Australia, grew up there, and then Ange has been in Europe for the last 20 years. And I say Europe because UK and Europe. And myself, I've been in London now for the last 5 years. So based right now in Madrid, where we're calling from Madrid. So it's definitely loaded questions, Bella, to start with.
It's a really international call this from three different locations, and your guys' story and your energy is part of what makes your duo so amazing when it comes to creating offers and your capabilities. I mean, how your separate backgrounds, because I know, Angela, you're looking in capabilities and Cristina in commercialization. Like, how do you think that brings a unique perspective to what you guys do?
Why don't you kick that one off?
Yeah. So it's an interesting one, right? Like Ange said, marketing and sales is like always being the head to head in most corporate worlds. Sales will never listen to what marketing does, and marketing always gets frustrated. They spend so much time on campaigns that sales don't actually follow through. So I think what it is it's the strategy, it's the thinking about things, it's the what we expect things to be, as well as what is the market then throwing at us that we weren't expecting. And that combination can be explosive. So I think that's what makes it, really different is that we are like yin and yang. We often say that. We're one part of the puzzle, but we are the opposite sides in many ways. And so we are looking at things constantly from many angles, both strategic, where do you want to go? Because if you're not strategic enough in the way you think about it, then it's not a plan, you're not going in any direction in particular. But then also when the market is throwing forces at you, you'll be able to react to those and still stay the course, which I think is really important, because if you know where you're going to, it doesn't matter how often you're thrown off that, you're still going to get to that destination that you were looking to get to.
Yeah. I think that's really fascinating as well, because you have those different sides that, like you say, in a normal business don't work in essence all the time well together. But actually having that oversight from looking at this from both of those different lenses is what makes the clients that you guys have makes their offers sell, or makes them understand what they are to the market that they're trying to reach, which is probably a really interesting insight where you don't have both of those capabilities or both of those unique expertise angles in one. You mentioned about there, Chris, and I don't know if Ange, you're able to answer this one, is you mentioned about where you want to go is so important to creating an offer. Why is that? Why does that actually matter to what offer you're creating?
I mean, there is so much around that that deep awareness of where you're going with things. What we find is when people make that switch from being just an expert in whatever their role was throughout their entire career into going into business, it is actually a really big transition and a massive identity shift that a lot of times we find people are aware of it, but they tend to underestimate the effect of what that means in packaging what they do into an offer and monetizing their expertise. So what they end up doing is pretty much a thing that by default, like they fall back into old habits, like doing the same thing that they've always done up until now, which is kind of like doing. But then without that foresight into, what that business is going to look like in the long term, not in terms of their ambitions and drive, because I feel that a lot of people that go into business, they've got that ambition, they've got that drive in terms of what they want to build, but really being honest with themselves on the reason that they might have gone into business in the first place, and being honest with themselves on what is actually the business that they're going to enjoy running. So, specifically what I mean is, okay, so you jump into business, you've now gone from having a paycheck and this reliability of having an income into you actually don't know what comes the next month. And that combined with the fact that they just fall back into comfort zones of just doing the thing that they've always done, it ends up resulting in they just start peddling, they start selling, they start like, okay, I just need to make money in my business and I'm going to think about my offer and I'm going to think about the foundational pieces of the business I actually want in the future when I make enough money. But it's this constant cycle. So so that's what we mean when we talk about being really clear and spending that time upfront to be aware of what you want long term.
Yeah, and you're right. That is so important because I know from when I first started my business, and I know for you guys especially, and I'm sure everybody that is listening right now and everybody else that is on any platform that has any business started off this way, just doing something ad hoc, doing, feeling that the more clients that we had, the more that we'd have a successful business, with actually thinking, what is that business and where am I supposed to go with it? Like, what am I looking to achieve? Because you get 20 years down the line and you're burnt out, you're frustrated, and you actually haven't achieved anything that makes you happy, or you're not living a lifestyle that you want to create in essence. I mean, what does that look like for you guys? What is that lifestyle for you?
Do you want to go?
Well, we've achieved. Yeah, I was going to say I love this part, right? Ange put the challenge to us a year and a bit ago, year and a half ago, to run a 15-hour work week. So Aria had just arrived a little bit earlier than we expected. She threw chaos into our world, which we embraced and loved, and threw workaholic mum into, hey, I don't want to be that anymore. And she said, I'd like a 15-hour work week. And I went, oh my God, I want that too. I mean, who doesn't? If someone says to you, do you want to work for 15 hours and still earn the same amount of money? And you say no, then you really are crazy. So we said yes to that and have worked on that and stuck to that and made our offerings and our business structures and our decisions around that. And we've achieved that 15-hour work week where, in my case at least, my husband is full-time dad. So it means I get to spend a lot of time with my newborn, who's also Bella, and the business and everything else. And it's just, you feel like you can actually achieve a lot. You don't, a lot of mums, especially new mums, my little one being 6 months now, they are feeling like they're struggling. They're not a good mum. They've left their business or they've left their job. They're not necessarily performing as a wife at times. I don't feel like I've got that because I've had that balance achieved throughout our business.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of the clients that come to you that are really struggling to, I guess, create and package their expertise, And that's in essence what we're talking about when we say offer, is really around, I'm assuming, that expertise. Like what are you creating for your audience and how are you actually serving them? And please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Is what are those guys struggling with that come to you? Like, how does someone know that their offer isn't working?
Can I just share something happened today? So
Please.
we were on a webinar, and I've been catching up with a couple of people that attended that webinar. And this gentleman on the webinar, and I think a lot of people that are in your audience, Bella, will really relate to this. They were like, "Oh, but I want to be a journalist. I want to help from end to end." And I'm like, and Ange said, "But are you really helping? Are you really able to provide all of that end to end help?" And I was having a look at his page and his website later on, and I was like, he literally wants to do everything. Now, I often talk about pizzas, right? And Ange's going to know this. You're going to know this one, Bella. When someone becomes really famous on Instagram, it's because they're really good at one thing. There's this one thing that everyone goes to them for, right? And let's say you're making a margarita pizza. If you make the best margarita pizza in the world, people are going to flock to you for a margarita pizza. And they're not going to go anywhere else for that. Like, they're going to know, they're going to come to you, they're going to buy that, and they're going to walk out the door. And you're going to sell tons of margarita pizzas. I've actually got a really good friend of mine that makes an amazing tortilla, and he hates the fact that he makes such a good tortilla because that's literally all he does all day long. He makes 80 tortillas a day. And so this is the thing. You're known for that. People come from around the area. You've got that loyal following. Now, when you're a generalist, how does someone say you've helped them? Like, if you were doing marketing, and not that this gentleman does, but say we're doing marketing, they help me with marketing? I mean, how generic is that? Whereas if someone said, "Oh my God, my SEO is now on point and every other piece of marketing falls into place because of that," then you're really well known for that. Or in our case, our offer is really clear as to what we provide with our clients. We're really well known for that. Now, Andrew's got 20 years of experience in one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. She's got pharmacy background, pharmaceutical background. She's got all of this other background. She can do so much. But she doesn't. She's focused on that one thing and got that really clear. Same with me. I've done sales coaching for non-sales people. I've done, new market openings. I've done commercializations of projects. But getting this piece done, getting the commercialization of an offer done and getting that dialed in and dialed and worked on every single day, we've calculated we've done over 1,000 deep dives. It just means we become really, really good at finding what works and what doesn't. And then the rest of the pieces that you need to build a business come into play with that.
Reminds me of this.
That makes so much sense.
I was going to say, reminds me of this noodle vendor in Singapore. I'm not sure if you've heard of this guy. He's the only Michelin star noodle vendor, street food noodle vendor in the world. And yeah, I mean, how many noodle shops and noodle vendors can you imagine are in the streets of Singapore? I mean, there's got to be probably a few thousand, if not more. And people go to this place because this guy is known for the $4. I think the prices might have gone up since he became famous, but like the $4 that he used to charge for his noodles, I mean, that was like the only Michelin star $4 bowl of noodles that you can get in the world. So it is really about this question and really getting clear, like, what do you want to get known for? What do you want to get famous for? What do you want to be associated with your name? And just adding on what Christina was saying before, I think one of the things that is really happening also in the market over the last few years is I do believe that this is something that has become more and more of a trend, in which it's, if you say you do marketing, like it is, like Christina said, it is very generic and very broad. And it's like, okay, what does that even mean, right? But I think that this fragmentation has also happened because there are now so many fragmented solutions in the market in pretty much almost any area that you can imagine today. So it's just, again, in the past, like maybe 30 years ago, if you say you do marketing, you can get away with that, but that's not the case anymore. So you need to get really, really specific on what's going to be the angle to go in and get known, get that foothold. Even if the things that you do around it, like there's more things that you add to that, it's about what do you bring to the forefront and what do you keep in the background.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, a lot of people assume that, and I know from speaking to people, that's just classed as niching down. But then other people say, well, I don't know how to niche down. I don't know what industry that we like to serve because we serve multiple industries. I mean, is that just by industry, or are there other ways of looking at this?
So just by industry, or there are other ways to look at this? That's very interesting. I do believe it is not an industry specific thing. I think this is something which is a combination of the way that people buy, the way that businesses sell. I'm sure the whole increase, especially over the last couple of years, of businesses moving online, which obviously got accelerated through COVID, and now people are really sort of vying for attention when it comes to positioning on LinkedIn and so on. So that absolutely is probably a blanket thing that sits across everything. Simply because recently heard on a podcast or something that the barriers today to enter any area of business has actually never been as low as it is today. So that combined with a number of things, what I find very interesting is the ones that are the deepest experts in what they do, they struggle the most with this because it's hard for them to stand out. Actually, you get people that are fresh out of high school, and they start positioning themselves as like a marketing expert. And then you've got somebody who's got 20 years of experience and having seen doing this on an industry industry level. And it's really hard when they're put side by side, and maybe the one who is fresh out of high school, it's maybe a generational thing, I don't know, but they're just really good at the marketing side of things, and it then becomes that they catch more attention than the person who actually has the depth of experience. So there's this whole imbalance, I believe, that is happening, and it coming down to that sometimes when you don't know how to present yourself in the most attractive way in that sense, you end up underplaying or undermining the real expertise and the real value that you have to offer. And sadly, that's something that we see a lot in the marketplace.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And I actually had a conversation a couple of lives ago with Pascala around, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's all about storytelling with your voice. And she mentioned this generational thing, how actually younger people, and especially when you're looking at Gen Z, are so confident with looking at presenting and communicating digitally because they've grown up with digital in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then shifting from actually, if you're communicating on stage or actually outside of the digital space, it's a lot easier for millennials and kind of Gen X and above to be able to communicate because that's what they've always done. I always say, we're creatures of habit. And when it comes to taking us out of something that we're normally used to, i.e. whether that's human communication or whether we are confident being in a digital space, those are where we're more likely to thrive. And putting someone in that space that's slightly uncomfortable, then they almost feel that they second guess themselves continually in able to communicate what's so special about them in that format. I mean, from your guys' perspective, if that is the case, whether it's online or in person, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the work that you guys do, is how people could communicate their offers generally more so in a digital space than in person. I mean, how do you find the challenge with that? And if that's where most people are struggling, how are you seeing that shift?
I'll go if you want. I think it is, the more you know, the higher it is, like Angela's mentioning. Let's have a look at marketing. Sales and marketing have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Before, it was you'd walk past someone and they'd have a shop, and whatever there was in the window shop is what you'd buy. And in some places of the world, it's still like that. In some places of the world, it's what you've got available to you is what you've got. When we've gone through the 80s and 90s, it was all about features and benefits, right? And so we all knew about going broad and talking about the features and benefits and why you'd spend more or less in particular products because of what it offers you. Then it evolved into that generic TV, billboards, radio, right? And then you wanted to draw someone in with the offer that meant discounted. It meant come now. It meant get this special price or 2 for 1. And it no longer was necessarily an offer then about what was the features and benefits. It was, what immediate discount can you've got now? And we were going through such a big thriving time for so many years, until basically 2008 when the big crash happened, that it was all about using your money now, you've got it, spend it, all of these things. So our generations have gone through that. We've seen that change. The latest generation that we're working with, or the consumers we're dealing with today, they have grown up, like you said, in that digital era of when you're a TikToker or you're an Instagram, you're known for one thing. And a lot of our celebrities, unfortunately, are known for that one thing, that one show they've been on, that one song they've done really well, that one person they've slept with, unfortunately. It's really this one thing. And I think that's what they've captured and they've brought along to this world now, is that they've become really good at doing that one thing. And when you're competing with someone that has 40 years of experience, say in the world of sustainability, how do you make that 40 years count without trying to say, here is the kitchen, here is a glass of water and the kitchen sink alongside it, because you have all of that to offer. But it's about distilling, what does the people you're offering it to actually need from you? Because if you were to give someone a full buffet, if that noodle guy was to offer a million different types of things as well as noodles, he wouldn't be known for that $4 noodle box.
Yeah.
And therefore, giving sometimes too many options can overwhelm someone to go, oh, too much. I don't know what you're talking about here. I don't know how you can help me, which is the answer someone answers or goes for when they actually buy from you. You've been able to answer to them, this is how I can help you. So if you can't explain to someone, this is how I can help you today, right now, then it doesn't matter what you say. So it needs to be really clear. I can help you right now in your business on this particular thing. And I know you're experiencing this, and therefore I'm going to help you with that. And that's not about all of that experience you've got, all of that knowledge you've got, or all of the things you can do. It's about meeting the market as where it is today.
Yeah, and that is, I almost feel like it's like a mic drop moment right there. I think from your guys' perspective, when it comes to offers, and I want to talk about kind of a business experience in general, alongside generalization and the ability not to be able to talk about really what that outcome is and that need to the person. If we're thinking about what you guys see in the market right now, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see business owners making around their offers?
We just did a whole workshop this morning on those mistakes, huh? I think one. Okay, so all right. Let's start. I'm just thinking which one to start with. All right. So I would say one of the ones which Christina did already start to highlight in what she was sharing before is again this, like, not realizing the point that you're meeting the market. So firstly, that lack of clarity is there. So I think the equivalent of shopfront these days in the online world is essentially, for example, when it's on LinkedIn, it's going to be your LinkedIn page, your LinkedIn personal page. That's primarily the one where people tend to go to. Only if they're interested in you will they maybe go and check out your business page, but they're most likely not going to really check out your business page until they're sure that you're someone who can potentially help them. So that's your shop front. You have to be really clear, again, answering those 3 golden questions. Who are you? What do you do? Can you help me? Can you help me right now? And I think a lot of people, they miss that step, firstly, around the clarity, but then also when they are clear on it, or they think they're clear on it, it's not actually validated in the sense that it's meeting the market in what they're looking to buy and what they need, in fact, or what they want. Because what they want, what they need are actually 2 different things. You as an expert, you know very well what is it that they want. You know very well what it is that they need, but you don't necessarily, or it's not necessarily the same thing as a thing that they think they want. So that's a really important distinction. I would say another one that is a common mistake that we see is that the way they've packaged around what they do, and today was all about, how do you create that product? How do you create that offer that's going to give you the business to live the lifestyle you'll truly be happy, right? So that whole sustainability in terms of how they've packaged around what they do. So they tend to postpone that dream, like, oh, I'm going to first make money in the business, and then I'm going to start thinking about the perfect, my dream offer, my dream business, all of that stuff. So that often happens because people aren't very clear on really what is the essence, the real value that they're truly selling. And because of that, they're overcompensating. They're piling more stuff in, or they're like the guy that Christina mentioned, where it's like, I'm going to do everything. I'm a generalist. I'm going to sit across the entire thing end to end. And they end up stretching themselves out, which burns them out on their side, but also from the client side. It's not always creating the best experience because they're getting a little bit of surface level of pretty much everything, right? Which is not going to be the same as when you go deep. Yeah, so I would say those are a few just off the top of my head. Chris, do you have any to add that you see commonly?
I think one of the biggest telltale sign that I can see when someone doesn't know what they're clear on is their testimonials. In someone's testimonials, when they said they helped me with my business, or they helped me with my marketing, or they helped me with something really generic, it means have they really helped? Like, what did you really help to be known for? We say we help with clarity. We help with offers, but we help give you clarity around the offer you're selling. And people always talk about, I got clarity, I understood what I'm doing, I understand what I'm offering. That for me makes sense, is that what we do is what we deliver. And so from an outside perspective, we do a lot more with our clients, but from our perspective, it matches. What we say, what our clients say, they go hand to hand. There isn't a disconnect, right? And I think when you see those, you see it really clearly in a lot of businesses. There is a big disconnect because sometimes I'll be like, someone helped me, with getting more clients in the door, and the other person says, oh, well, I do, content writing or something along those lines. It's like, well, which one was it, or someone will say, I help with branding, and the other person says, I got a lot of visibility with my new content posts. Like, they're not matching there. What is being delivered, what is being given is not clear, and that match is not happening there. So I think they're, for me, my red flags that I see when someone says, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm offering. I'm like, do you really?
And I can just imagine Cristina looking at them, scrolling through their LinkedIn, going, you definitely don't know what you're doing. You definitely don't know what you're doing. And you know what? I see this all the time, is that often when it comes to client experience, and actually businesses don't ask the right questions when it comes to testimonials, is actually to be able to generate and continually refine what you're known for, is you've got to ask the right questions in the testimonial to say, what did you come for us for? Why did you come to us versus someone else? What was it that you were struggling with? What have you implemented since then? And what have we been able to help you achieve? And actually kind of distilling that down and having them describe the transformation really helps refine that front end work of how you can position yourself. But often when we're not positioned ourselves in the right way, and it's really interesting the way you describe that, is something that I deal with quite a lot of the time, is they're sold on something that they don't actually receive. And I think that really leads me, I know that we've got only a couple of minutes left. So if you do have any questions, please pop them into the chat now so that I can ask these lovely ladies these questions. But is when it comes to creating an offer and having a great business experience, like, how are they related and why are they so important that you have a clear offer to have a good business experience?
So the two are, for me, they're very intimately related. Like Cristina said, when testimonials are very broad and generic, it's a sign that they might like you as a person, but they're not actually clear what they bought and what they actually got from you as an outcome. So it makes it really hard to be able to repeat that. So Christine mentioned my background's in pharmaceuticals, and specifically I originally started in quality, right? So which is all about like looking at the quality consistency across. So that very much applies to the expertise space as well. If you're not sure what is the thing that really made what you do so special and such a great experience for someone, how are you able to create that experience again for someone who maybe doesn't know you and doesn't have that level of trust like the person who you helped already, right? So I do believe the two of those things are very intimately related. And I think what triggers for me, Bella, when you ask that question is when you're asking yourself the question, when you're delivering a certain result, like who are you delivering that result for, right? Is it fully for your customer? I mean, of course, when we help our customers to get to a certain outcome result, right? Like it's always for them because you want the best for them. But is it fully for them, or is it more around for yourself, in fact, in terms of being able to like showcase something or prove something? And this is something that we see across some of the different industries where, you know, there'll be companies that are looking to gather certain metrics. So they want a certain result from you, so they're able to add it to this collective of metrics, right? Which is fair because you want to show your results. But again, you know, that distinction, like, is it the result that they're looking for? Is it the result that's really, truly, sincerely, you know, for your client? So it's kind of those two things, but being clear on that and the right offer, you know, mapped to on the better business experience side of things, I do believe they're very related, specifically for that reason.
100%. Let's say you're bringing clients on, they're actually getting results from the work that you do. They're giving you good testimonials and they know why they're coming to you. So they put in more effort. Ultimately, that gives you you enjoy servicing your clients more. You're not working with clients that are continually frustrated at the end of the day. I mean, if you have any questions, please drop them through now because I'd love to ask the ladies. But while people are dropping those through, if someone is looking and they're struggling with their offer, how can they reach out to you guys, and what is the first thing that they should do?
Chris, you want to go?
LinkedIn. Yeah, I was going to say LinkedIn. We're always on LinkedIn. Like, you know, we're doing obviously this live with you, but LinkedIn is probably our fun space, our happy space. Right now, it's a social media platform where I think it's still most authentic and is most about business. So we're very much on there. Then you can always check out our website, our other social media areas and things like that. But definitely on LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to find us, interact with us, get to know us. And we try and do these kind of things, podcasts, lives, webinars. We give you really lots of chances to get to know us before you even want to maybe knock on the door and say hi.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys. And if there are no questions, my last one to leave you with is, if someone is struggling with their offer, can't get any help, and they're like, okay, what can I do right now? What is that first thing that they should do?
Talk to your existing customers. Talk to the customers you've worked with so far. If you haven't worked with any customers yet because you're going into a brand new space, then talk to people who are your potential customers. I mean, at the end of the day, the answers are going to come from them. It's coming down to a matter of whether or not you're able to fully be able to extract the information, you know, once you do, but those are going to come through those conversations, is what I would say.
Make sure that the customers you like and love and want to work with, not the ones you don't.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a question from Chris. What is the most transformative offer you have developed with a client?
Oh,
transformative for the person or for the business?
That's a
really good question. I'm assuming, and Chris, please correct me if I'm wrong, that this is on the client side. So the most transformative offer that they have that's brought the biggest transformation.
I mean, we can probably answer both. Gosh, it's hard to say which is the most transformative offer, because I would say every single one of our clients, like, their offers are just ridiculously transformative. Cristina says this a lot. Like, we just feel like the most stupid people in the room when we're sitting with our clients, because they're just such deep experts in what they do. And our job is literally just to bring that out, or shine light on the inner diamond, which is what we talk about. So yeah, definitely on a client side, can't say because everything's very transformative. But in terms of, if I think of the ones where it's been the biggest shift, I mean, there are so many, to be honest, because every single time we go through that initial exercise, people are like, oh, okay, see my business completely different now. And you've just changed my idea of my business in the space of 2 hours. So I don't know, what would you say would be the most, Chris? Do you have one that comes to mind?
Look, I have to say, like you said, it's so hard. Like, there are many amazing clients that literally make impact every single day on both their business, their bank accounts, and their clients. Like huge. But I have to say, one that I really enjoyed was actually Felice. You know, she came in thinking she wanted a type of business which was a pocket CMO. She's got tons of experience. She had all of these things. She went out and did that, and then came back to us and went, I don't want to do that anymore. And stopped for the first time in her life to go, what kind of business, what do I want to spend my 40 hours a week doing? And what does that look like? And what kind of life do I want to have? And the fact that she could stop and think about that and then create a whole business around that and make that work for her, for me, is what transformation is. It means that she better helps her people, she better helps her business, but she better helps her own life at the end of the day. And that for me is so important. I think that when you can start a process and go, actually, I've just realized this is not for me, and be in a position to change that for me is impressive.
I like that one.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. If there are any more questions, drop them in the chat. I will check the chat myself because I realised that we have gone slightly over on time, but we could talk for hours and hours on this topic. And I'll make sure to tag the ladies as well if you have any questions for them. And I'm sure they'll be monitoring it as well because their BDIs are on LinkedIn way more than mine are, because they just are expert. Like, they are honestly brilliant at it. So if you would like to get in touch, I will also drop their links in the chat for you so that you can connect with them, check out their website. And also potentially, if you are looking to dive deeper into this, book a consultation call with them to see what those next steps are. So thank you so much again, ladies. And I am so glad to have had you here.
See ya, Chris.
Thank you.